Hello and welcome to NewsClick, this program with real news. We have with us Commander Atul Bharadwaj, and we'll be discussing the issue that India has raised vis-a-vis Balochistan. The fact that Balochistan has come up in this particular way, as if it's a counter to Kashmir, it also seems to ignore that Balochistan has strategic issues outside India-Pakistan relations. And we need to also look at that when we talk about Balochistan. Atul, good to have you with us.
Thank you.
You know, Prime Minister Modi's response to Balochistan seems to have been almost a response to Kashmir. While Kashmiris are saying, well, we have nothing to do with Balochistan. Our issues are our issues. Why is India or Prime Minister bringing in the Balochistan issue? But Balochistan has a strategic significance outside India-Pakistan relation itself. So do you think we have been very, shall we say, diplomatic in raising Balochistan in this way?
The same BJP which is now talking Balochistan very loud in loud voices had actually condemned Prime Minister Manmohan Singh when he had mentioned at Sharm el-Sheikh the word Balochistan. Prime Minister Modi now has in fact announced from the ramparts of Red Fort that he is going to provide moral, quote-unquote, moral support to the Balochi rebels. Now, which is a very significant statement. It marks a strategic shift also in India's policy, because if you actually see, here we are saying that we are now going to be involved in something which the West has identified as responsibility to intervene.
R2P, responsibility to protect kind of philosophy.
R2P, yes. So basically it is an interventionist policy.
External intervention.
Yes, the same policy, and it's all done in the name of human rights. The same policy which Pakistan has been adopting vis-a-vis Kashmir.
One prism of it is it justifies, therefore, in some sense, Pakistan's intervention in Kashmir. This is what a lot of people have said. And this is also what was earlier being talked about by BJP when Manmohan Singh issue was raised. It has not been helped by the fact that it happened really at the time of the Quetta blast, which killed about 90 leading lawyers in Quetta. And therefore, it was also claimed by forces inimical to India to be an Indian intervention. So delegitimizing also the Baluch struggle in some way. But this is one part of it. So this tit-for-tat business between India and Pakistan, Kashmir, and then trying to use Balochistan against Kashmir. What you are saying is this itself is self-defeating in some sense.
It is absolutely self-defeating, because what you are intending to do here is that we're going to pay Pakistan, we'll pay Pakistan in the same coin as they've been doing to us. You're basically saying that we'll emasculate the Pakistani army in this particular manner. But what you're not calculating in your strategic this thing is Pakistan can abandon for some time its interest in Balochistan, but the Pakistani army may not abandon or concede ground in Kashmir.
Now, I would like to raise the other dimensions. Balochistan has three other countries, apart from Pakistan, who would find this of concern. One is, of course, publicly known, China, because the economic corridor runs through Balochistan, and therefore the China-Pakistan economic corridor, which ends at the Gwadar port, is going to be affected if there is insurgency over there. What is not realized that India is also setting up Chabahar, the port, and it is again in Iran. It's in Sistan province. Russia and Iran both have a stake in the Sistan province, as does India, because of the port that it is building. Now, if you support Baluch nationalism, which is what you are trying to do in this particular case, it also could have an effect on Sistan, which also has a Baluch minority issue and also a demand for autonomy, again, very similar to what the Baluch problem in Pakistan is.
Basically, if we see, Balochistan has become central to the 21st century geopolitics. What is happening exactly is that Balochistan, which is the southernmost province of Pakistan, it is deeply into poverty. Southwestern province of, the southwestern province of Pakistan, and basically if you see that it's the least developed area in Pakistan. There is an insurgency problem, but which is basically at a very low level at the moment. But there are a lot of players which see how this insurgency can be exploited. When I talk in terms of geopolitics, there is its location of Balochistan is basically geographically and politically very important for the Western power projection. Number two, Balochistan also gives you access to Indian Ocean. Number three, as you rightly mentioned, China has entered into the game now with its $46 billion investments in Pakistan. Now that has actually raised this importance of the entire region exponentially, because now the whole game of using Balochistan is primarily to contain China, not to let China have access to the trade routes that it wants to build. Now India, so when we talk in terms of India, India is actually, is it playing its own game? We are using the Kashmir rhetoric basically to justify our getting involved on behalf of the West in Balochistan. Balochistan, you have Americans, you have Israelis, you have Europeans all involved now. And the timings of our interventions or our stated interventions in Balochistan are actually matching with what is happening on ground by these players. Because if you see, Balochistan sits astride three countries, Afghanistan, Iran and Pakistan.
And it has two sets of issues. One is Baluch nationalism and also Islamic fundamentalist forces closely aligned to ISIS kind of forces who have been backed earlier by the United States to destabilize Iran. Yes. In fact, a senior general was killed allegedly by these forces who've been officially backed by the United States. So you're really going into very troubled waters of Iran as well by fomenting the Baluch issue.
Because we are not understanding, or we have not actually, I don't know whether the Indian establishment has actually debated the consequences of it. Because we are playing a similar game. We have history right in front of us. Pakistan was involved in a similar game of in this particular region with Afghanistan, Balochistan, to contain Soviet Union.
We are now trying to do what Pakistan was trying to do. But there is one difference. Pakistan had a natural border with Afghanistan. We have none with Balochistan. The only border that exists in Balochistan which could be conceivably favorable to us is the Iran border. And that is certainly not going to be very happy for bringing up this issue.
I fully agree with you on that particular aspect, that we do not have any coterminous borders with this particular region, or not the region but with Balochistan as such. Yet we want to play that larger game, and we want to get embroiled more and more into that game without understanding what could be the consequences.
I will end with this question. Do you think it's a time for the Indian strategic establishment to take a hard look at Balochistan independent of Kashmir and Pakistan?
There is definitely a need. Kashmir and Pakistan's rhetoric should not be used to get into a larger game which is being played in Balochistan. Is it in our interest to play that game is the question. Why would we not be interested in those trade routes getting opened is the question. And of course, the consequences which could accrue by playing this particular game. We have example of Pakistan, the kind of consequences it is having to bear because of playing this dirty war. It's a hybrid war that you will be playing, because it is not that if at all you play this game in Balochistan, you will not be playing it with your military. You will be playing with actors which are less than military.
In any case, without a natural border, that game becomes limited. But the other part of it, when you talk about trade routes, the other trade route is Russia, Iran, Chabahar, in which India has a stake because it's supposedly building the Chabahar port. So in that sense, it's also something which is against our own economic interest if that region gets destabilized.
It is against our economic interest, because for a long time, the region has actually been boxed up and not been trading with each other.
Thank you very much, Atul. We'll be watching these issues very closely. This is all the time we have today. Keep watching NewsClick.